Okay, let's go ahead and get started. My name's Greg Rule. I'm an Assistant Scoutmaster in Troop 855. I'll be taking over as Scoutmaster this coming year, actually. And I've also a PAC committee chair, and I've gone through the bridging process with my oldest son, and my youngest son's in AOL this year. So I'm kind of in the thick of all this, and hope to share some of my observations and experiences. We try to visit a bunch of troops. It's been kind of odd with COVID, but my oldest was actually able to visit the last year that we were actually able to physically visit people and go to Webelos Woods. He was at the last in-person one. It was three plus years ago at camp. So they found you. Now what? That's the name of the talk. So we're going to talk about other ways to get your troop noticed really briefly. What are the key goals with when the youth is trying to show up? What do parents do at a meeting? What is the youth's decision process, at least as I've observed it? And then things that my troop has done to try and get kids to keep coming back. So, Webelos Woods, obvious one, how to get noticed, right? So obvious, when you're at Webelos Woods, you want to put your troops' best foot forward. You want the scouts interacting with Webelos. You want your senior youth leadership interacting with parents. That's always impressive. The parents are used to Cub Scout meeting kids running around, just bouncing off walls, and it's like, oh, there's some older kids who are mature and talking to me and answering my questions, and it's just like a completely new experience usually for parents. The leaders are there for any other questions. So in my troop, the leaders, we try to hang back. We let the SPL handle everything with the parents as they come in. And then after a little bit, the SPL will offer to the parents that they'd like to talk with any of the other adults. Another method we use to get noticed is we call the PACs. So if you don't know the PACs in your area, work through Mike, get the PAC contacts. Contact them and invite their Webelos and AOL to meetings, invite them to events. One thing is, you don't need to wait for the Cub to be in AOL. Webelos are allowed, they're perfectly fine to visit troops as well. As a PAC person, I've tried to involve some of our local troops with our PAC kickoff, and that starts to get visibility of those troops to our PAC, the ones that we normally feed into, and kind of start building those relationships. Sometimes it can lead into den chief style roles, which also further strengthens the partnership between a certain troop and a PAC. So all of these are good things. And then obviously personal relationships. If you know a parent who is a parent of a child who's a Webelo or AOL, invite them specifically, right? That's always going to get the best responses if you know somebody personally and are able to invite them.
It was mentioned earlier that there are maybe 500 to 525 people planning to attend this upcoming Webelos Woods. Is that mostly Webelos and their parents with a few Boy Scouts, or are there 50-50? I guess I always
the last breakout number I heard was like 2+ weeks ago. I heard there's 20 Webelos signed up, so obviously that number's increased. I don't know the exact number, but if I look at I do have the campsite breakout, and I see a whole bunch of PACs listed. So presumably there will be a large number of youths from all over the district. So it should be a good weekend.
Sure, but are there more Boy Scouts that attend to that, or more Webelos that attend that typically?
They usually, for troops, they limit the number of youth in a troop that are attending. They don't want a 50-person troop have 50 kids show up. Usually they'll like I'm in a larger troop, and we've got 10 to 12 youth attending, somewhere in there. So enough for one campsite.
So again, does that mean that there's roughly an equivalent number of Boy Scouts?
So you're asking me something, and I'm not running Webelos Woods, and I have absolutely no idea what the ratio is this year.
I'm not asking just about this year, just in general. Are they getting more Boy Scouts coming to recruit a few Webelos? Is it a few Boy Scouts?
No, it's 50-50. It's 50-50. There's large groups of Cub Scouts wandering about on cookies and cocoa and running into campsites
there to help out.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. Okay, key goals. So these are the key goals that I see. Get the youth to show up to your events. So if you're at Webelos Woods and there's youth in your area that you would normally, they're within driving distance of your troop, it's kind of a good match. Invite them specifically to events and meetings. Say, here's the, hey, we're doing this cool sledding event, or we've got we're doing something else, or we've got this troop meeting where we're going to be learning about X, Y, and Z. Like, you guys, you should come on by. And usually the scout inviting the youth holds a lot more weight than you inviting the youth or the parent. So if if that 16-year-old is talking with the 10-year-old and like saying, hey, we can't wait to see you at the meeting, man, that kid's flying high. Like they want to be there, that they're ready to go. So your troop events, obviously, I know a lot of troops don't want to deal with the overnight situation. I know some do, but you can also have day trips. My troop tends to have the overnights, but invite the Webelos for a particular day. So if we're doing a Friday through Sunday camp out, we might invite them for the day Saturday kind of thing. So the goal here is to get the youth excited about scouting. We'll talk about this a little bit. Each youth has their own kind of decision process, and maybe they're just not a match for you, but we do want to keep the youth continuing in scouting. Some kids want to be in that small troop where everybody knows everybody. Some kids want to be in a large troop. They've all got different reasons. And then the goal when they come to your event or meeting is to make them be so done with Cub Scouts they can't wait to finish up AOL and get over to Scouts immediately. Like, they're ready for the big kid stuff, right? They want to use the axe. They want to go on the big overnight camping trips and all of those things. So that should be the goal, so get them really excited about things they can't do in Cub Scouts that they can do in Scouts. So what cool trips and activities are you doing? I have cool in quotes here because what you and I might think, like, oh, well, we went on a week-long canoe trip this summer. Well, that might be overwhelming to a 10-year-old. It's like, oh, that freaks me out. Where it's like, oh, we went sledding and then had like a video game tournament. Like, that might be the most incredible thing ever, and they've got to go to that troop, right? So use your youth, use your PLC, find out what kids that age would like find really enticing, and try and plan those kind of activities. So obviously focus on the youth, not getting more adult help. As an adult, I visited some troops at Webelos Woods a couple years ago, and it was like, oh, thank God you're here. Like, we can't wait. We're desperate for more adult help. Please show up and take over these major roles. So it's like, well, that was pretty off-putting, right? I didn't want to hear that right then. I wanted them to be more focused on the youth and seeing if there's a match there. Have a clear schedule and be inviting. So one thing that our troop has done is we list out what weeks. So we have our meeting schedule and what meetings are we working on which AOL requirements. So maybe the den leader doesn't have the slightest idea how to tie a bowline. Well, show up, November, whatever, and that's the night we're teaching a bowline. So bring your whole den, right? And then you're basically planning the den leaders' meetings for them, right? I'll just show up to this meeting, and this meeting, and we'll just knock these things out, especially the one where they've got to talk to somebody in the community, like a police officer or a judge or a lawyer. Like, that's a tough one to get scheduled for the den leader. So if you can get those kind of things organized, then the den leader will, we're just going to show up because then I don't need to plan anything. And you'll just get the more repeat visits you get, the more the kids are going to start recognizing faces and be more comfortable in your troop, and that usually results in a better chance of joining. So what do parents do at a meeting? Parents usually want to see a progression, right? They're going to see the first-year scouts kind of behaving like their AOL scout, right? But then they're going to see hopefully the older youth leaders that are really leading, and they're mature, and they're up there, and they're directing the troop, and it's like, wow, my kid could turn into that. That's the kind of impression hopefully you want to lead. And I don't think there's ever been a troop where all the old kids are just flawless behavior and immaculate uniforms or anything. So I'm not sure that actually happens, but it's, the parent's going to focus on like the better kids and say, wow, look at that, that was impressive. Parents will have a lot of questions, and we'll talk about kind of having a breakout session is one of the things we do. But fees, uniforms, expenses, all that kind of stuff. What do I need to do? Don't jump on like, well, we need a new committee chair. Hold off on that till later, right? Parents usually want a low bar to entry. They don't want to be like, oh man, there's these major roles that they need filled and they're desperate for help. Yes, there's some parents who are eager and ready to dive right in, but that's usually an exception rather than the rule. So usually they want to see, hey, this troop has their act together. I can see little spots that I can help out, and like, oh, I like doing this, and I like doing these different activities, and I want to help out with those, but it's not pressured to like, oh man, I've got to help out in so many areas. Because a lot of families, remember, they may still have kids in Cub Scouts, so you've got this dual role going on. Finally, parents want to see a clean and safe meeting area. I've been to some visits where it was definitely a wash hands afterwards, and like it didn't seem like it was the most clean or safe area to have a meeting. So I think that may be common sense, but keep an eye on things. Okay, youth decision process. Maybe this should also be in quotes. Does the kid feel somewhat comfortable with the troop? My oldest was very nervous about his decision. Even after he made his decision, he was still very nervous. But after like maybe a month, he's like, oh, I made the best decision ever. This is great, right? So every kid will have different preferences for what they're looking for. And we try to spell it out. It's like, well, do you want a troop where girls and boys are both meeting at the same time? You want a big troop? Do you want a small troop? Do you want like kids see like more quirky troop? Do you want who knows what kind of troop, right? And every kid's going to have different things they're looking for. We can't shoehorn them into if a kid wants a small troop, we're not going to shoehorn them into a big troop and make them happy necessarily. So finally, I think the thing that really happens, they just tend to latch onto something completely arbitrary. We had a situation where they were doing a tug of war and the rope snapped, and every kid who was on that rope is like, this was the coolest thing ever, we're coming here. And it's like, well, you could never plan that. It's just something that we didn't necessarily think was particularly fun or exciting or anything, but they for whatever reason, they latched onto that, right? So I meant to put hands on here, but make sure your meeting's not boring. If you've got an older scout up there lecturing for 45 minutes, you remember, we're talking about fifth graders, they're going to be bored and not want to come back. So hands-on activities. So put something in their hand, something where they're working with a buddy, or preferably if that buddy's an older scout, and just kind of get them excited and working with stuff. Finally, the youth decision process are the parents not vetoing their choice. So if you really off-put the parents, then they're going to kind of steer their kid away from the troop. But we talked about in the previous slide of what the parents are looking at. So last slide, things my troop has done. We have a flyer, and sometimes we have a QR code with all of our September to February events, and we hand it out at Webelos Woods. So it's like, oh great, you're in the area. Here's the flyer. Come on by any week. Like, you don't need to call, you don't need to pre-plan. You want to show up to this event, just show up, right? And you can put as many or as little events as you want on your flyer, right? A lot of our meetings, we're working on arrow of light requirements because they tend to mirror a lot of the TTFC requirements. So we explicitly list that in the flyer. Oh, we're working on AOL, blah, 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 3B, this, Tyabolin, right? And then they know, oh, that I'm definitely the den leader. Oh, I'm definitely bringing my den to that event. Have the first year parents reach out to the old packs. We do this quite a bit. So make sure that we maintain that anywhere we've pulled from, we try to maintain that connection and try to get the kids to visit at least once. Separate the parents from kids at a meeting. There's sometimes the parents want to hover. So right after opening flag, we pull the parents into a room and have a parents meeting. The SPL is in the parents' meeting, so they get to talk to the senior youth, answer all their questions. Meanwhile, the kids are off having fun with some activities. Toward the end of the meeting, we're kind of wrapping up the parents' meeting, so the parent does get to see how their kid's interacting with the troop and kind of observe the troop a little bit. But I think it's important to that split is important. Obviously, any youth who visits a meeting, your next step is get them to show up to a trip or an event. Having the older scout inviting them is huge. Like, oh yeah, we're going on this cool caving trip. 3 weekends from now, you should definitely come. Like, okay, yeah. And then on the way out, like, hey, I'll see you at the caving trip. And the parent will be like, what caving trip? And then the kids, and the ball's rolling, right? So, it's really important, I think, impress on your older scouts, because they kind of forget what it was 4 or 5 years ago, how important it was to have the older kid talk to them, pay attention to them, and act interested in them showing up. Like, that is a huge deal. Scoutmaster being interested in them showing up, they're not, they could care less. It's if the older youth is interested in them showing up, then that's a huge deal. Okay. So with that, that kind of ends the formal presentation, and then we can just kind of maybe go around and talk about what your troops have done, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and just maybe if you guys have any thoughts about what you're doing for Webelos Woods. I've kind of outlined the things that we're doing with the flyer, but that's kind of when as they come into the campsite, we try to split them off. So the SPL is talking with the parents, and our other youth are working with the youth for a while. And then toward the end, the SPL will ask if they want to talk to any of the adults. So we definitely take a hands-off approach when we're at Webelos Woods. Any thoughts or comments? Is everybody going to Webelos Woods, or are there people? Because so maybe unmute and just share if you had any plans for what your group was thinking of doing.
This is Kelly from 874, committee chair. We are doing a cooking presentation.
Mhm.
So we're just trying to find a way of doing something fun that really engages the kids.
Yep.
So I don't know. So we're looking at a few different options. I know the weather's unusually hot for this time of year. Are they going to allow campfires at Webelos Woods? Or
I haven't heard
them.
them not offering it, but
Okay.
I believe there's campfire rings in each of the sites.
Okay, so we should be able to build a fire then.
I think
there's
so.
There's a lot of troops doing fire,
Yeah.
like our troop is doing fires and stuff like that. So I'd imagine.
I hope so, because we're building one.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
looking at the list of Tony sent out that list of activities, and I'm like, oh my god, almost everyone's doing like the same things. This is going to be like to see who's doing how many fire buildings and rope lashings and stuff like that. So I think if they saw all of us doing fire stuff and they was like, oh, there's a problem, I would hope by now they would have said something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is Webelos Woods at Butte Creek, or where is it?
Meriwether.
Meriwether. Okay. Different location, but a few weeks ago I attended Wood Badge, and again, fires in the fire pits were fine, so I imagine it would be the same for Meriwether too.
Yeah, we're bringing a kind of a big stand-up propane stove just for cocoa and coffee kind of situation. Pack of ramen if the kids so hungry after dinner. But yeah, we're hoping the fire pit is available.
We're gonna have coffee for parents too, because
Yeah, that's always yeah. Sugar the kids up, coffee the parents up. That's always a good policy for the Webelos Woods. Although it's supposed to be warm. Usually it's cold and miserable out there, so people want something warm, but it'll be different vibe this year.
Yeah, but Greg, it's a camp out. Most adults are dead tired no matter what happens.
Yes. Oh yeah,
So the coffee
I
is
will be
always
ready for coffee.
Yeah, coffee is always a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of probably gathered this from my question, but our troop is not going. Until tonight, I had always just thought of Webelos Woods as something for just the Webelos to attend.
So our troop, my name's Marty Pierce from Troop 162. I'm the outdoor coordinator and serve on the committee as well. So our troop is running the archery range in coordination with another troop. I think 339 is helping us out there. And then we're going to have 2 tables set up, one with popcorn on it. So we'll be cooking popcorn in a Dutch oven on a stove, just to have as a snack once they're done. You know, anybody can just walk up to the table and get it. And also 339, I believe, is going to have a drink table. So we're kind of having those things going on while we're running the archery range. The adults can come over and chat with us. So we're engaging the adults as our scouts are engaging the Webelos. And then our affiliated 5162, the girls troop, are setting up a first aid station right there. And
Okay.
So they're going to be doing some basic first aid stuff. So
If we shoot a popcorn kernel, do we win any special prize?
yeah,
Okay.
you get like 4 more popcorn kernels.
Okay, great. It's a good deal. So Beth, are you guys going?
Yes, we are. We have, unfortunately, it also conflicts with homecoming. So we have a contingent going Friday night, and then there's a bunch of us leaving super early in the morning, Saturday morning, to be out there.
But we had the same problem where we had half the boys that were said they were going to attend, like all of a sudden got dates for homecoming and just threw everything up in the air this last meeting. So
Thankfully, our SPL and our ESPL do not. So,
That's
and
good.
and not all of our kids go to the same high school. So some people's homecoming is a different spot time than ours. But my Mike Voltz's son and my son are both in Hill High Band together, so they'll be marching tomorrow night.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know, my husband's a scoutmaster, so he'll be going down with the contingent tomorrow night, and then a small handful of us will be going in really early. That's why that coffee is really important.
Yes, sir.
I have coffee too, but yeah, we're gonna be there hopefully by 8 o'clock Saturday morning. But yeah, we have several different things. I know we do ham radio, we're doing fire starters, we're doing, you know, just a kind of collection of stuff to be fun and entertaining, and of course scout donuts. So, you know, everyone likes donuts. It sounds like though we have a lot of troops that may be doing edibles, so the kids might be overstuffed by the end of the day. Yeah.
No such thing. There's always room for donuts.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, we have a lot of enthusiasm for stuff, you know, and I know we're all competing for the same group of scouts and stuff like that. So it's just hard all around. But I think, you know, just getting them into scouting is the important part.
Yeah, I mean, there's even amongst the Hillsborough troops when I was visiting, there's a clear, like all of the ones that we visited were excellent. But there's a different vibe with each one for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like just, you know, how just the interaction of the kids and kind of the things that they're interested in and talking about. It's they're so definitely, you know, as I said earlier on, it's like just encouraging them to visit as many troops as possible is I think the key, because there's going to be a match out there somewhere, right? There's it's not a cookie cutter where all the troops are the same. So
no, and I think one of the nice things is that if they decide on a troop and they realize after they join the troop that's just not the right troop, they know what the other troops are like. And so, you know, not that I would want them to leave a certain troop, but if it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit.
Yeah, my oldest son was really panicky about making a decision, and I said, well, we're going to give it a try for a month. Maybe it's not a fit. And we visited these other troops, and you thought you'd like them too, so we can go give them a try for a while. So it's not a lifelong decision.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, cool.
So, Keith, are you guys going to Webelos Woods?
Yeah, we've got so I'm with Troop 618. I'm the scoutmaster there, and then we've got our other girls troop. They're also attending. We're going together, kind of doing the same thing. We're doing Dutch oven cooking with making monkey bread.
Okay.
So we've only got 7 scouts going between the 2 troops and 5 adults. So a little adult heavy, but we've got our previous scoutmaster, and then one of our other adult leaders, her son is an Eagle Scout, and she's insanely involved with the OA, and so she'll be there helping. And yeah, it's for the most part just, you know, youth led, and they spend a lot of time just chatting with the youth, keeping it pretty casual, and they always enjoy the food. And yeah, so nothing super crazy, just an opportunity to meet them and be there, and hopefully it'll be a good experience. And then we'll invite them to hopefully some future troop meetings, and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, I think, you know, Webelos Woods is one of these, it's a great opportunity to kind of lock in those visits and tell them like, oh, here's whatever the dates are that we would love to have you. And, you know, here's the contact information, or just, you know, show up, here's the time and location. This is kind of a great way to get a big list of prospects in one weekend, and then you can kind of follow up on things. So
yeah, no, it should go fairly well. I mean,
Yeah.
we're kind of in a spot where we want to keep recruiting, but we also don't want too many more scouts in the troop at this point. We're getting a little high on numbers as far as what's comfortable for everybody.
Mhm.
So we want to continue to keep the pipelines open, but maybe we have a year or so where we don't have quite as many come through.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird spot to be in, because like we've checked with the scouts and like some of the adults, and you know, they all kind of like the troop when we were like around 40 to 50, maybe 60 scouts, and we're getting closer to, we've got about 70 to 80 boys now, and we've got 20
you're
girls.
where when you go camping, you can't find a big enough campsite for the troop. And
yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
it's kind of a little bit of chaos at our meetings and things, which is, it's always been chaos, but it's even more.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Okay. That was pretty much the topics that I wanted to discuss. Was there anything else that you guys want to talk about in the breakout? I think I'll see most of you around Webelos Woods. It sounds like we're all heading to the dining hall. So we'll see each other there.
It was mentioned on the chat earlier that there's something, you know, like that would be coming out, that maybe it hasn't been scheduled yet, a super weekend. Can you say more about what that is?
Let me see what my troop's schedule is on that. Let me first stop sharing. There you go. Because I thought they already had the super weekend, but let me.
What is it though?
It's just kind of a summer camp. It's basically they open up all the ranges and climbing walls and everything in the kids. Yeah, so there was one September 30th through October 2nd was the super weekend that I was aware of. And that was just kind of, yeah, show up, the ranges are open, you can you do the climbing wall and things like that at the campsite.
So it could be in the fall, could be in the spring, but sometime outside of the normal summer camp season for a chance for people to kind of come and see a
Yes.
fully staffed camp.
Yeah, it's all, and it's a great opportunity for kids to get partials in their shooting sports badges to go finish their qualification.
Okay.
Yeah, so University of Scouting is the next big thing that I'm aware of coming up, and that's on the 5th.
Right.
And then yeah. Let's see, did I get everybody? Kirsten, anything you wanted to add?
No, I would love to see the PowerPoint that you, or the slideshow that you presented.
Okay, yeah, I'll get Mike to send that out with it.
Shall I send you my email in the chat, or?
You can do that. I'll see if Mike can just broadcast it out too, because I think there's multiple people who wanted the recording, and maybe we just send out recording and the slide deck together to to the mailing list to folks who want it.
I am not in your district.
Okay.
I am visiting.
Great.
From-
Send me your email. Put your email in the chat then. Let's make it easy. Sure.
you.
Yeah.
And as far as future roundtables, do you think it'll be kind of like a mix alternating in person online, or do you have a sense for
Yeah.
what is likely to happen?
So my role is actually the assistant Cub roundtable person. So I work with David quite a bit, and we've in our meetings with Mike, we've been discussing every other or every third doing an in-person. There's a lot of positive feedback to the online just because, hey, I just finished giving my kids dinner. I can run in the office, sit down, and boom, I'm in the meeting. But on the flip side, gee, isn't it nice to meet somebody and shake their hand and talk before the meeting and all those things. So there's, I think, pros and cons of both. So I think Mike is of the opinion he wants to kind of balance that out. If you have strong opinions, let Mike know. And but we have been talking about that topic.
No, I think he's striking a balance. I think it's probably a good pragmatic way to kind of balance those pros and cons of both things, like you said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anybody else have anything that they wanted to add? Otherwise, I think we're kind of winding down. Okay, and let's see, did I get your, yep, there it is. All right, Kirsten, I've got your email. I will send that out afterwards. All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks,
We'll
Greg.
head back to the lobby. Yeah, thanks
Greg.
folks.